2. How old is he now? Yalla! What a man's question! He is all but 6 weeks old, and on this night I go up to the housetop with thee, my life, to count the stars, for that is auspicious. And he was born on Friday under the sign of the sun, and it has been told to me that he will outlive us both and get wealth. Can we wish for aught better, beloved? There is nothing better. Let us go up to the roof, and thou shalt count the stars, but a few only, for the sky is heavy with cloud. The winter rains are late, and maybe they will come out of season. Come, before all the stars are hid, I've put on my richest jewels. Thou hast forgotten the best of all. Aye, ours. He comes also. He has never yet seen the skies. Amira climbed the narrow staircase that led to the flat roof. The child, placid and unwinking, lay in the hollow of her right arm, gorgeous in the silver-fringed muslin, with a small skull-cap on his head. Amira wore all that she valued most, the diamond nose stud that takes the place of the western patch in drawing attention to the curve of the nostril, the gold ornament in the center of the forehead studded with tallow drop emeralds and flawed rubies, the heavy circlet of beaten gold that was fastened round her neck by the softness of her pure metal, and the clinking curb-patterned silver anklets hanging low over the rosy ankled bone. She was dressed in jade green muslin as befitted a daughter of the faith, and from shoulder to elbow and elbow to wrist ran bracelets of silver tied with floss silk. Frail glass bangles slipped over the wrists in proof of the slenderness of the hand, and certain heavy gold bracelets that had no part in her country's ornaments, but since they were Holden's gifts, and fastened with a cunning European snap, delighted her immensely. They sat down by the low white parapet of the roof, overlooking the city and its lights. They are happy down there, said Amira, but I do not think they are as happy as we, nor do I think the white man's memlog as happy. And thou? I know not they are. I know they are not. How dost thou know? They give their children over to the nurses. I have never seen that, said Amira with a sigh, nor do I wish to see. Aye! She dropped her head on Holden's shoulder. I have counted 40 stars, and I am tired. Look at the child, love of my life. He is counting too. The baby was staring with round eyes at the dark of the heavens. Amira placed him in Holden's arms, and he lay there without a cry. What shall we call him among ourselves? She said. Look, art thou ever tired of looking? He carries thy very eyes, but the mouth is thine, my most dear. Who should know better than I? 'Tis such a feeble mouth, oh, so small, and yet it holds my heart between its lips. Give him to me now. He has been too long away. Nay, let him lie. He has not yet begun to cry. When he cries, thou wilt give him back, eh? What a man of mankind thou art! If he cried, he were only the dearer to me. But, my life, what little name shall we give him? The small body lay close to Holden's heart. It was utterly helpless and very soft. He scarcely dared to breathe for fear of crushing it. The cage-green parrot that is regarded as a sort of guardian spirit in most native households moved on its perch and fluttered a drowsy wing. There is the answer, said Holden. Miamatu has spoken. He shall be the parrot. When he is ready, he will talk mightily and run about. Mianmatu is the parrot in thy Mussulman tongue, is it not? Why put me so far off? Said Amira fretfully. Let it be like unto some English name, but not wholly, for he is mine. Then call him Tota, for that is the likest in English. Aye, Tota, and that is still the parrot. Forgive me, my lord, for a minute, but in truth he is too little to wear all the weight of Mia Matua for name. He shall be Tota, our Tota to us. Hearest thou, O small one? Littlest, thou art Tota. She touched the child's cheek, and he, waking, wailed, and it was necessary to return him to his mother, who soothed him with the wonderful rhyme of Airy Coco, Fairy Coco, which says, "O crow, go crow, baby sleeping sound, and the wild plums grow in the jungle, only a penny a pound, only a penny a pound, Baba, only a penny a pound." Reassured many times as to the price of those plums, Tota cuddled himself down to sleep. The two sleek white well bullocks in the courtyard were steadily chewing the cud of their evening meal. Old Peter Khan squatted at the head of Holden's horse, his police saber across his knees, pulling drowsily at a big water pipe that croaked like a bullfrog in a pond. Amira's mother sat spinning in the lower veranda, and the wooden gate was shut and barred. The music of a marriage procession came to the roof above the gentle hum of the city, and a string of flying foxes crossed the face of the low moon. "I've prayed," said Amira after a long pause. "I've prayed for two things. First, that I may die in thy stead if thy death is demanded, and, in the second, that I may die in the place of the child. I have prayed to the prophet and to Bibi Miriam. Thinkest thou either will hear? From thy lips who would not hear the lightest word? I asked for straight talk, thou hast given me sweet talk. Will my prayers be heard? How can I say? God is very good. Of that I am not sure. Listen now, when I die, or the child dies, what is thy fate? Living, thou wilt return to the bold white memlog, for kind calls to kind. Not always. With a woman, no. With a man, it is otherwise. Thou wilt in this life, later on, go back to thine own folk. That I could almost endure, for I should be dead. But in thy very death thou wilt be taken away to a strange place, and a paradise that I do not know. Will it be paradise? Surely, for who would harm thee? But we two, and I the child, shall be elsewhere, and we cannot come to thee, nor canst thou come to us. In the old days, before the child was born, I did not think of these things, but now I think of them always. It is very hard talk. It will fall as it will fall. Tomorrow we do not know, but today and love we know well. Surely we are happy now. So happy that it were well to make our happiness assured. And thy Bibi Miriam should listen to me, for she is also a woman, but then she would envy me. It is not seemly for men to worship a woman. Holden laughed aloud at Amira's little spasm of jealousy. It is not seemly? Why dost thou not turn from me from worship of thee, then? Thou a worshipper, and of me? My king, for all thy sweet words, well I know that I am thy servant, and thy slave, and the dust under thy feet, and I would not have it otherwise. See? Before Holden could prevent her, she stooped forward and touched his feet, recovering herself with a little laugh, hugged Tota closer to her bosom. Then, almost savagely, "It is true that the bold white memlog live for 3 times the length of my life. Is it true that they make their marriage not before they are old women? They marry as do others, when they are women. That I know, but they wed when they are 25. Is that true?" "That is true." "Ya Ilia, at 25! Who would of his own will take a wife of even 18? She is a woman, aging every hour. 25, I shall be an old woman at that age, and these memlogs remain young forever. How I hate them!" "What have they to do with us?" "I cannot tell. I know only that they may now be alive on this earth, a woman 10 years older than I, who may come to thee and take thy love 10 years after I am an old woman, gray-haired, and the nurse of Tota's son. And that is unjust and evil. They should die too. Now for all thy years thou art a child, and shalt be picked up and carried down the staircase." "Tota, have care for Tota, my lord. Thou at least art as foolish as any babe." Amira tucked Tota out of harm's way in the hollow of her neck and was carried downstairs laughing in Holden's arms, while Tota opened his eyes and smiled after the manner of the lesser angels. He was a silent infant, and, almost before Holden could realize he was in the world, developed into a small, gold-colored little god, an unquestioned despot of the house overlooking the city. Those were months of absolute happiness to Holden and Amira, happiness withdrawn from the world, shut in behind the wooden gate that Pir Khan guarded. By day Holden did his work with an immense pity for such as were not so fortunate as himself, and a sympathy for small children that amazed and amused many mothers at the little station gatherings. At nightfall he returned to Amira, Amira, full of wondrous doings of Tota, how he had been seen to clap his hands together and move his fingers with intention and purpose, which was manifestly a miracle. How later he had of his own initiative crawled out of his low bedstead on the floor and swayed on both feet for the space of 3 breaths. They were long breaths, for my heart stood still with delight, said Amira. Then Tota took the beasts into his counsels, the well bullocks, the little grey squirrels, the mongoose that lived in a hole near the well, and especially Mia-Matu, the parrot, whose tail he grievously pulled, and Mia-Matu screamed till Amira and Holden arrived. "O villain, child of strength, this to thy brother on the housetop! Tabua, tabua, fie, fie! But I know a charm to make him as wise as Suleiman and Aflatun." "Now look," said Amira. She drew from her embroidered bag a handful of almonds. "See, we count 7, in the name of God." She placed Mitu, very angry and rumpled, on the top of his cage, and, seating herself between the babe and the bird, she cracked and peeled an almond less white than her teeth. "This is a true charm, my life, and do not laugh. See, I give the parrot 1/2 and Tota the other." Matu with careful beak took his share from between Amira's lips, and she kissed the other half into the mouth of the child, who ate it slowly with wondering eyes. "This I will do each day of 7, and without doubt he who is ours will be a bold speaker and wise. Tota, what wilt thou be when thou art a man and I am grey-headed?" Tota tucked his fat legs into adorable creases. He could crawl, but he was not going to waste the spring of his youth in idle speech. He wanted Matu's tail to tweak. When he was advanced to the dignity of a silver belt, which, with a magic square engraving on silver and hung around his neck, made up the greater part of his clothing, he staggered on a perilous journey down the garden to Pir Khan and proffered him all his jewels in exchange for one little ride on Holden's horse, having seen his mother's mother chaffering with peddlers in the veranda. Pir Khan wept and set the untried feet on his own grey head in a sign of fealty, and brought the bold adventurer to his mother's arms, vowing that Tota would be a leader of men ere his beard was grown. One hot evening, while he sat on the roof between his mother and father, watching the never-ending warfare of the kites that the city boys flew, he demanded a kite of his own, with Pir Khan to fly it, because he had a fear of dealing with anything larger than himself, and when Holden called him a spark, he rose to his feet and answered slowly in defense of his newfound individuality, "Hum park nyan hum adim hai! I am no spark, but a man." The protest made Holden choke and devote himself very seriously to a consideration of Tota's future. He need hardly have taken the trouble. The delight of that life was too perfect to endure. Therefore it was taken away, as many things are taken away in India, suddenly and without warning. The little lord of the house, as Pir Khan called him, grew sorrowful and complained of pains who had never known the meaning of pain. Amira, wild with terror, watched him through the night, and in the dawning of the second day of the life, was shaken out of him by fever, the seasonal autumn fever. It seemed altogether impossible that he could die, and neither Amir nor Holden at first believed the evidence of the little body on the bedstead. Then Amira beat her head against the wall, and would have flung herself down the well in the garden, had not Holden restrained her by main force. One mercy only was granted to Holden. He rode to his office in broad daylight and found waiting him an unusually heavy mail that demanded, concentrated his attention and hard work. He was not, however, alive to this kindness of the gods. End of part 2 of Without Benefit of Clergy.